The Reverend Barbara Child wrote a few days ago, "These are words from Ursula K. Le Guin, which I wish I had thought to say myself. I have allowed myself to get old, and I haven't done a single thing about it with a gun or anything. I was born before they invent women, and I live all these decades trying so hard to be a good man that I forget all about staying young, and so my tenses get all mixed up. I just am young, and then all of a sudden I was 60 and maybe 80, and what next? Not a whole lot. So if I'm no good at pretending to be a man and no good at being young, I might just as well start pretending that I'm an old woman. I'm not sure that anyone has invented old women yet, but it might be worth trying." It tickled me that Barbara found that so enthralling, because Barbara is in her 80s, and for those of you who don't know her, she is approximately this big. And she's a former lawyer, and she made it through Kent State. And she's a ball of fire. And she's a UU minister. So I'd be quite happy if she invented what it meant to be an old woman, because I'd love to get to whatever she sees. Hope Jaron says, "We're given exactly one chance to be." But to be what? Every time I look around, it seems like someone is trying to figure out who to be or how to be, or maybe just where to be. I was on Facebook the other day and I counted 8. I counted 8 different quizzes that I could take to tell me either who I was or who I was at least pretending to be. One was going to tell me which Harry Potter character I was and which Hogwarts house I belonged in. I'm a Slytherin, in case you hadn't noticed. Another one was what hamburger I would be. As long as I answered these questions honestly, they would tell me what kind of hamburger. Another promised if I answered 30 questions, they would tell me which state my soul belonged in. By now, I could tell them, and it was definitely a state of confusion. One was a color test that told me it would tell me which MyersBriggs category I was in. For those of you who haven't done the MyersBriggs, it's a personality inventory. That way I would know how introverted or extroverted I was supposed to be, presumably so I could get a t-shirt and warn people. I'm, of course, an ENTJ, which is the subtle and quiet one of the group. This month's theme is integrity, that idea of living in accordance with your internal beliefs and principles. And I kept thinking, do all these quizzes have some type of idea on that? Why are these proliferating? Why is everyone looking to find out what box they fit in, what niche they're supposed to be sitting in? Integrity is supposed to be some kind of threshold characteristic. We want to think that absolutely everyone has it, right? But if Ursula K. Le Guin is right, if we invent ourselves, if we invent what it means to be a person like us, there are a few little roadblocks between us and the life of integrity. Let me give you an example. So you sit down to take that foolish test on the internet, that one about what kind of burger you'd be. Simple, it's meaningless. Nobody but you cares. Of course, we'll all share it with 75 of our closest friends. The first question on that kind of test shows you 4 pictures. One of candy, one of steamed broccoli with steamed fish, one of a big bowl of chili, and one of an empty plate. And the question asked, pick the dinner you most likely will eat. you know darn well the actual answer is the chili. You've already got the can out in the kitchen. But your brain starts to bob and weave. I know that broccoli and fish is the right answer to this question. It's the grown-up, big boy answer that I'm supposed to pick. I would eat the broccoli and fish if I had an extra hour to cook. But see, I forgot it and it's still frozen. That's why I got the chili out. I actually want the broccoli and fish. No, I don't. And so on this meaningless test, whose answers are visible to no one but you unless you want them to be, you pick broccoli and fish because you know in your heart that you will pick the right answer, of course. You're supposed to. So you pick the broccoli and fish and then you go make the can of chili. According to Ron Ashkenaz's Harvard Business Review article called Why Integrity is Never Easy, we humans have an innate ability to rationalize, and it undermines that life of integrity. Ron writes, if you ask high school students whether or not it's right to cheat, most will say that cheating is wrong. But research suggests as many as 95% of these same students will cheat. Most of the time, this involves a specific incident where the students make a choice to cheat. In hindsight, they justify their choice as not really cheating. No big deal. Or here's my favorite, everyone does it. So it's not really cheating, right? Because they expected you to do it. In other words, they rationalize their situational behavior and consider themselves still honest. Ashkenaz writes, everyone defines integrity differently. Falsifying information to one person is an acceptable business practice to another. Culture differences make it worse. We rationalize, we situationally define, we culturally accept. Everyone or almost everyone wants to fit in with the folks they see as having integrity. So we learn to do some mental magic. Sometimes it doesn't matter much. Other times it does. I actually had a conversation last week that horrified me. We were talking about Adolf Hitler and Anne Frank, talking about hiding Jews in the attic. We both agreed completely that the Holocaust was an abomination, never should have happened. We were in simpatico, totally in agreement with each other. They said if Nazis were putting people in concentration camps today, they'd join the French resistance. They'd be right out there. They'd have a gun. They'd be shooting people. I'm going, wow, you are dedicated. We even laughed for a minute when they talked about how they would hide Jews in their attic because their attic doesn't have a great floor and they'd have to build some things. I said, that's great. Let's talk about what are you doing at the border right now? How are you going to help with the concentration camps we got going on in our country? What are you going to do? I was looking forward to having someone else join in the resistance today. And they looked at me with utter confusion and said, well, those aren't concentration camps. I mean, they're not killing anybody. Then they said, they didn't even put in any ovens or anything. We can both agree on a fact. We can both agree on an opinion. We can't agree what a concentration camp is. Anyone can claim to live a life of integrity if they convince themselves that lies are truth. Anyone can claim to live a life of integrity if they surround themselves with liars and scoundrels so they look like a saint by comparison. That's why I hang out with my brothers. Anyone can claim to live a life of integrity if they blame their behavior on culture. But facts matter. Ethics matter. Who you invent yourself to be matters. Rational empirical data is not fake news. You can have your own opinions, but you don't get your own facts. And in order to live a life of integrity, you are charged with discerning the facts as well and as responsibly as you can, and living by what you know to be true. Integrity without knowledge is weak and useless, and knowledge without integrity is dangerous and dreadful. Samuel Johnson said that. Douglas Adams, the perennial smart aleck, said, to give real service, you have to add something which can't be bought or measured with money. And that is sincerity and integrity, and that's what we're called to. W. Clement Stone said, have the courage to say no. Have the courage to face the truth. Do the right thing because it's right. These are the magic keys. These are the magic keys to living your life with integrity. In a world filled with easy answers and double talk, lies presented as truths, we're called to be a people of integrity, and boy, that can be tough. We're called to be people who refuse to fit in, but instead stand out. We are called to make a searching and fearless, moral, ethical, and belief inventory, and then to actually live those values, even if according to our world and our culture, we could do so much less. But that's not who we need to invent ourselves to be. We are people of integrity. Now, I finished taking that quiz on the internet the other day, and you'll be happy to know I'm an Elvis burger. It's a burger with peanut butter and banana on it. I think I heard the computer gag. But at least it means I answered honestly. I'm the one who stands out, who's a little different. I answered honestly, and if that means my answers don't look like anybody else, then so be it. You have one life and a lot of potential, so invent yourselves well. Blessed be.